Get ready to kickstart your journey to wellness with the ultimate guide in town. Welcome to Wellness Unleashed with Doc Stone, realms of natural healing, where ancient wisdom meets modern science. Prepare to be inspired by stories of transformation and triumph. With Doc Stone as your guide, discover the power of holistic living and the joy of reclaiming your health. Prepare for a whirlwind adventure through the world of holistic wellness. From fitness freaks to spiritual gurus, we've got something for everyone. So grab your sneakers, your yoga mat, or just your sense of curiosity, and let's dive headfirst into a world of wellness wonders. Wellness Unleashed with Doc Stone. Your path to a vibrant life starts now. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the very first episode of Wellness Unleashed with Doc Stone on Natural Health TV channel on the AeroStream Network. My name is Jeremy Doc Stone, and I am your host, your health coach, your functional medicine, natural medicine, infotainment star here on the show. And I am so excited to be kicking off this show to help you and everybody that you know to live a more healthier life naturally. Making wellness natural is my goal, and I am excited to be doing this with you and on this journey. During this show, we are going to explore a variety of modalities in natural health, functional medicine, alternative, complementary modalities, and we're going to dig into some inspiring stories with guests who have overcome chronic illness, major health events, and are living vibrant lives today. I want you to know that this is my passion to help you because I have been a person who was healed or was able to overcome chronic illness in my life. I struggled for a long time, and after finding natural methods, I was able to begin to pursue my doctorate and PhD in natural medicine. And I cannot be more thrilled than to be on this journey with you to help to share my journey and help you to live a life of wellness unleashed. In today's episode, I am excited to have a very special guest with me. I am going to be welcoming my friend and the co-founder of the AeroStream Network, Jim Grant. Now, his story is amazing, and I'm going to let him share it. And we're going to dig into how he went from a widowmaker to a showmaker today. And so I'm going to bring in my good friend, my buddy, Jim Grant.
Well,
Jim,
thank you so
how are
much.
you, friend?
I'm doing real good. I'm just proud to be here, happy to be here, and it's a pleasure to be a guest on your show. It really is. You're the reason why we created AeroStream TV, to give people an opportunity to be able to get their message out. And we're just so excited.
I can't think of anybody else that I would prefer to have as my very first guest on the inaugural episode, because I know you have a heart for serving people as well. And your story is just phenomenal. And as we dig into, wellness journeys, really tell us a little bit about, we talk about widowmaker to showmaker, but let's talk a little bit about what happened and what your story is.
Well, for many years, ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed good health. Thought I was okay, no telltale signs. My blood pressure was always good, 120 something over 68 to 74. My bad cholesterol, actually about a year and a half before I even had my heart attack, the bad cholesterol was at 73. And the doctors always told me, says, hey, you're in great shape. Your blood pressure's good. Your bad cholesterol is way down under 100. You're not overweight. Man, you got a ticket to ride. And, Jeremy, what happened was that, and there might be someone out there in TV land that can relate to this. I'll just be honest. I was dumb enough to believe that I had a safety net. But the sad part of it is, on October the 29th, 2021, I suffered a heart attack. And I tell people I found out the hard way that my safety net had a hole in it. That's the wrong time to find that out, ain't it, Jeremy?
Absolutely. So help us to understand. You were not overweight.
Mm-mm.
You were getting regular physicals.
Mhm.
How old were you at that time?
I was 72.
So you're a
Yep.
72-year-old, fit, slim, former U.S. Army Master Sergeant, right?
Yeah.
Veteran. You were trucking along in life, and your doctors were telling you that you are a prime specimen
Yeah.
of
You're good to
of a
go.
set. Yeah, you're good to go.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
yet something happened that made you realize that that wasn't necessarily the truth.
Yeah, exactly. What happened to me, it happened on a Thursday night. I had the pain in both arms from the elbows down. I had pain that went straight across behind my in the nape of my neck from one shoulder to the other, just like an arrow. And I had this like heartburn in my center of my chest, like acid indigestion or something. So I took some baking soda and water and I drank it and it went away. And I thought, that's weird. And then on Friday night, what actually happened, I had the same symptoms, except I felt very, very restless. If I was sitting down, I felt like I need to stand up. If I stood up, I felt like I need to lay down. I could not, I was just very, very restless. There was no rest
Mm.
for me. So I finally went to bed. I woke up my wife because I was flipping and flopping, rolling back and forth. She says, "What's wrong?" I says, "I don't know. I just very restless." And I don't know if I asked it or she recommended, but anyway, my blood pressure was taken and it was high. And I told her, I
Now
said, "Oh,
your blood pressure hadn't been high before, right? You've been having physicals. You didn't have any high blood pressure before
none.
that, correct?
No. Anytime when I took my blood pressure, of course, I know I got to be relaxed and sit down and, get an accurate reading. You can't be walking in from, the mailbox, which is about a football field length away
Mhm.
and have, because your blood pressure be a little higher. But when I checked it, it was always 120 something, in the high 60s, low 70s. So, I mean, in fact, I never really checked it that much. My wife would, and that was what it was. So, anyway, it was like 168 over 80 or something like that. And I told her, I said, "Oh, this thing is nuts." And she checked it. She says, "Jim, it's working fine." I said, "Well, let me lay here about 5 minutes." And I was thinking, well, maybe this baking soda water combo will kick in and it'll knock it back out. But I was wondering, why is this coming on now? Because I never suffered from any type of heartburn or anything. She took it and it was higher about 5 minutes later. And I says, "I'm going to go to the ER and get this checked out." This is very, very important. Anytime you have any type of acid indigestion, you check your blood pressure and it's higher, go to the ER immediately.
Yes.
And she drove me there, and I was only about 4.5 miles from my house, so if no traffic or anything, no red lights or anything, it's just because we live out in the country, so it didn't take long to get there. But the time I got there and got in there, my blood pressure had escalated to 190 over 111.
Wow.
That is serious. And that's when I found out I'd had a heart attack. They give me the 4 baby aspirins. Of course, I got a blood thinner in one arm and IV in the other. And 4 baby aspirin told me to drink down. They put the nitro under my tongue, and that's when the heart attack was over.
Mm.
And my journey home from that, of course, it's I was told all I needed was stents, and I went in for stents, and then that's when they found out that I had the widowmaker with 90% blockage, and I had to have open heart surgery and 4 bypasses, and that was on Monday, November the 1st, because they kept me in the hospital the whole weekend thinking all I needed was stents. They're going to put it in Monday. But fortunately, the good Lord was with me, and everything worked out good. So quite,
Wow. Wow.
quite an eye opener, I'll tell you that.
I bet you. I kind of we're gonna dig into the whole Widowmaker thing and what that was like. But I want to take you back to the ER when you
Mhm.
got there and your blood pressure was so high. Um, what was your initial thoughts? What was your initial feelings
Well,
when the doctor there told you that you had a heart attack?
well, to be honest with you, I got to tell a little bit of a story out of school to set this up. My
Mhm.
wife is driving me to the hospital, and I'm not feeling good, okay? And I'm not in a lot of pain, but I'm just not feeling good.
Mm.
and she's driving about 10 miles an hour slower than the speed limit. And I know she's worried. And I didn't want to say anything like, could you hurry up or criticize her driving? Because,
Yeah.
people, when someone's worried about something, they don't need somebody to make a remark like that. But I had a feeling, and this is very important in life, I had a feeling that everything was going to be okay.
Mm.
And so what I told her, I said, I'll be glad I get to the ER because I know I'm going to be okay. And she didn't
Yeah.
speed up any money, but we eventually got there. But my point being, as we travel down the pathway of life through the journeys, through the good times, the bad times, all the things that happen to us, I look at life as being like eating a hot dog. You eat a hot dog one bite at a time and you just chew it up. And, if it's a good time, you enjoy it. And if it's not a good time, you just, you got to process it either way. But at that point in time, knowing that I was going to be okay, I didn't know what the end of the journey was, but I knew it was going to be okay, and that was all I needed at that point in time. And when I was in the ER and they told me all that, again, I just knew that I was going to be okay. And to get a funny thing happened in the ER because this one nurse came in. And you could tell by her body language, she was real official. She had a clipboard in front of her, like a police officer standing beside your car going to write you a ticket. She says, when you came in, they did not put down what medications you're on. What medications are you taking? And I says, I don't take any medications. And then she talked to me like I was in third grade. You are not taking any medications? I looked at her and said, no, ma'am. And so I've been joking around a little bit with the medical staff because I had 2 or 3 nurses in there and doctor in there because being 72 and heart attack, blood pressure 190 over 111, you're going to get some attention, okay? And this one nurse was shooting something into the IV, and I joked with her and I says, are you giving me something to give me a cheap thrill or put me in orbit around Jupiter or what?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you know you're going to be okay, don't make yourself more miserable than is absolutely necessary. That's a principle of life. And when I said that, this nurse, she snapped at me and she said to me, she says, I don't think you realize what a serious condition you're in. Your blood pressure is 190 over 111. You could have a heart attack or stroke at any moment. And I looked up at her and I said, well, you don't have to be so optimistic about it.
Yeah.
And she took off. I never saw her again. She probably figured this guy's a lunatic. But my point being, again, is that when you're going through things, don't make yourself more miserable than is absolutely necessary. Because if I would have hit the panic button, oh my gosh, blood pressure 190 over 111. Holy smokes. I could have, what would that have done to my heart or my blood pressure, Jeremy?
Right. So what I'm hearing in that, Jim, is that you recognize the importance of the mindset that you had about what was happening in the time, and that actually probably played a role in your not only your healing but your survival in that moment. Is that correct?
Well, anytime you get upset and you add more stress to your body, that's not good. And if you just take a deep breath and relax and let the slack come out of the chain, it's kind of like if you're going to pull a heavy load, and if you take the vehicle and you pull it where the slack comes out of the chain and you just start pulling it, you can pull it. But if it's got a lot of slack in the chain, you take off 60 miles an hour, you're going to snap that chain. You got to be able to allow things to settle. And I just had this feeling that I was going to be okay. So what more did I need? I knew my journey wasn't over, but I knew I wasn't going to be going down shaking hands with the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And
so
go ahead.
In the ER, then you're told that your blood pressure is over 190, that you've had a heart attack. They give you the baby aspirin, they give you the nitro. All of a sudden, that kind of subsides the pain and
everything's gone.
That's what nitro does. How long did you stay in the hospital at that point? Did they send you home right away? What was your journey there?
No, what happened? I was in Brenham, Texas, and they were going to transfer me over to the Bryan College Station area there at the Baylor Scott and White Hospital and put me in the cardiac ward. And so I had to be transferred by ambulance. And so I had to wait. I don't know what the deal was with the ambulance, but it took about 2 hours for them to get there to be able to transport me. But I was, I was stable and no problems or anything like that. It's just, I just wanted to get out there and get some sleep because this is going on 2 o'clock in the morning. And I finally get to the hospital there around 4 in the morning over in Bryan College Station. It's about a 45-minute ride. And I'm just worn out. But they kept me in the hospital, and they really thought all they needed was stents. And so I was there, and because COVID was, still the ramifications of COVID was still in effect then, they said, well, we normally would do it right away, but we got to wait till Monday because of staff, et cetera. It's okay. So that's the way it worked out for me. And I just,
Okay.
I just made myself as pleasant as I could be there in the hospital. I had 6 things hooked up to me. You're not going to sleep very well, and they draw blood out of the back of your hands every 6 hours. And I tell people, they're such nice people that even if you're asleep, they'll wake you up. They're not going to let you miss out on that fun.
Yeah, those hospital staff, those nurses just can't seem to stop from visiting you at all hours,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They
And I
they
was
just love the
yeah.
company.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but I got to say something about the hospital staff over there. I was just treated fantastically. They were just wonderful, wonderful people there, and I got a lot of respect for them. And the one nurse, Beth, walked in. She looked at me. She says, "My name is Beth, and I'm going to be your nurse today." So I looked up at her and I said, "Well, my name is Jim, and I'll be your patient today." And she just kind of like looked at me. But see, the amazing thing here, and this is something for everyone, always laugh at yourself and find humor in a bad situation, because sometimes that is the best medicine you can give yourself and your body, your spirit, everything. Because there's plenty of time to scream. There's plenty of time to holler, fire. But you can easily see, especially a person with a heart condition, if I would have got scared to death and upset and all that, I could have done a lot more harm to myself than would be necessary, or, could be irreversible. And I like to point out one thing very important, if I may, Jeremy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Whenever you have a heart, anything that might concern your heart, chest pressure or whatever, get to the ER in a hurry, because you could easily see from about a 30-minute time from my blood pressure go 180 something up to 190 over 111. If I'd have waited till in the morning, I could have suffered muscle damage. That is 100% irreversible. And because I got up there quickly and responded quickly, my heart's in great shape. I didn't suffer any muscle damage, because that paralyzes your heart, is what I'm saying. Certain muscles of your heart cannot pump as properly as it can. So that's why that's important. So don't put it off. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think that's such an important warning to our audience, right? Is that when you begin to feel any kinds of signs or symptoms of a heart attack or heart issue, get yourself to the ER right away.
Yes.
Get checked out by a medical professional. That oftentimes there's a lot of things that mask a heart attack. They have similar signs and symptoms, right? So you might think that you're having just indigestion or heartburn or anything like that. And maybe 90% of the time, that's actually what it is. But there's always that chance that it's something a lot deeper than that, right? So I think that's a great warning for the audience, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, I had a good friend that just turned 40 years of age back in 1988. We were the same age. And he said, I had just walked out from visiting with my banker. He was a business owner. And his banker was telling him, "Man, you got it made." He says, "Your business is doing very well. You owe very little money, but your assets are fantastic. Your cash flow, you got over $1 million. $1 million in cash. He's got assets. He's got very, very little debt, like about 10% debt. He was just on top of the world. And he told me, he says, Jim, I walked out of that bank. I felt like, I had the world in my hip pocket. And he had a heart attack at the age of 40. He says, the next thing I know, I'm standing on the street corner waiting for the lights to change. So I go over to the parking lot and get in my car. This was in downtown Houston. And he just dropped right. So the next thing I know, I'm kissing concrete and I'm grabbing my chest. And he had a major heart attack, and he's very fortunate he survived it. And I don't know if he had the Widowmaker or not. I'm not sure, but it was a major heart attack. Can you imagine going from one extreme to the other and just that quickly? And he was only 40. So what I'm saying is that the Widowmaker and heart attacks in general, the Widowmaker can attack women just like it can men. They just give it the name Widowmaker. But also heart attacks can strike anyone at any age. And please, if you go to the doctor and he says, hey, you're good to go, and there's heart disease runs in your family like me, just say, I'm out, doc. Heart disease runs in my family. I want to go further and have further tests done. I didn't do that. So I don't want you to make the mistake that I made. Excuse me, sir.
No, absolutely. I think that's an important distinction to make for people, is that oftentimes and that's why I think this story is so important to share with our audience, Jim, is that oftentimes people think that only older, overweight people have heart attacks, right? And so it's important for people to understand that, we're seeing heart attacks more and more in younger population. We see heart attacks even below 40. We're seeing a lot of heart attacks. If you do the research, you look at the statistics with the National Institutes of Health, the American Heart Association, all of those big, well-trusted organizations. We're seeing a lot of younger people suffer from heart conditions, heart events, and I distinguish between a heart condition and a heart event because, condition means oftentimes that people, they know that they have an issue. It's an ongoing long-term thing. Right. And a heart event is more kind of an acute instance, where maybe they didn't know, kind of like what you had, right? You had a heart event. Yes, you had a condition in there, but you weren't suffering from that condition that you knew of.
Didn't know it.
So, you ended up having a heart event. And so, we see that happen a lot more in younger generations. And so we want our audience to know that nobody is necessarily immune from heart disease, right? It's not just those that have high cholesterol and bad eating habits and have all of these issues. There's not just the older population. And in fact, statistically, the statistics show that more than 50% of the people that visit the ER for a heart attack have no pre-existing signs or anything like that of having it. They have great cholesterol. They have good blood pressure, but all of a sudden, and that term, all of a sudden, right? I mean, when you're talking about health, you want to watch out for the all of a suddens, right? I mean, those things they sneak up on you and they get you. But all of a sudden you have this event and your life has changed.
You're exactly right, because one of the things that I researched was what you quoted there. The UCLA Medical Department back in 2009 reported that over 70% of the patients who wind up in the ER with a heart attack were just like me. They had no previous warning signs. As when I say warning sign, we're talking about physicals, blood pressure good, cholesterol levels good. So that was a wake-up call. And in fact, Jeremy, you and I, we met because of your health condition and me bouncing back from having open heart surgery and 4 bypasses. And I tell people, I feel real good now. I'm 75 years of age, but I feel like I did when I was 50 because why wouldn't I? I got a new 4 barrel on my heart, 4 veins. And, but we also learned with our health conditions, if you make adjustments, if you know what you're doing, that's critical. One thing, Jeremy, I know that you believe this, and I know that I do because we've known each other for some time. But if you see a guru on TV saying, let me grab something here if I can. You really can't, but I'll just grab his ears. Hey, this here's the fountain of youth. This is the next thing. People flog to that blindly. Don't do that. Because remember, what's good for the goose may not be good for the gander. And you've got to be prudent. You've got to do your homework. And we did that. And we found a company that really has, like in my case, a heart health pack, which is great. It's got a lot of studies on it and all that. And I also became a fan of dandelion tea. And I tell people, do your research on dandelion tea, what it does for the body.
Yeah, I think that's really important, Jim, because and I want our audience to understand this, is that everybody's journey is individual. Right.
Yes.
It's different. And not only in the way that you overcome whatever wellness issue that you have, but I want to step back even further, is that your journey to chronic illness is going to be different. Your signs and symptoms may be different, right? You can get to, say, for instance, diabetes, which I had for a long time. You can get that different ways. So it's not necessarily the same. There's a lot of people, the stigma with diabetes is that it's overweight, heavily obese people who just eat a lot of junk food. And that stigma oftentimes sticks with people who get diagnosed with diabetes, right? It's a terrible stigma. But there's lots of people who are trim, who don't eat a whole lot of sugar, that still end up with diabetes. So everybody's journey to whatever their wellness issue is, or their chronic illness is different, and your way out of it is going to be different. And that's why, I'm a huge proponent of education, helping people to make, their own choices about their health and wellness, right? We've become so indoctrinated into just listening to one way, and your way out isn't necessarily my way out. And we might have the same condition, but the same way out's not going to serve us.
That's exactly right. And when the folks that know me, where I go to church and all that, Jim had a heart attack. He looks healthy. He's not overweight. He's this, he's that. Well, you know what? The Widowmaker does not discriminate. And I said this one time, I was speaking to people, I says, the Widowmaker does not discriminate. It attacks men. It attacks women. It even attacks ugly people like me. And I say things like that because you got to keep things light and don't take yourself so seriously. And if you have a health condition, take a deep breath and relax and say, hey, I haven't found the right answer for me. That's the right attitude. And that automatically opens up the search beam in your mind. And that's what will help you as you go forward.
Absolutely. Well, we're coming up to the end of this episode, Jim. I would like to invite you back for another episode to kind of talk a little bit further about your journey and how you recovered. I think that's really important to help inspire our audience. Would you come back for another episode, Jim?
Yes, sir. I'd be glad to. It'd be my honor to share that with others, because I know what people with heart attacks and surgery goes through. So I might be able to share something that might help them.
Well, absolutely. Well, I'm so grateful, Jim. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.
And we will have you back on another episode, and we will talk to you later. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us on the inaugural issue of Wellness Unleashed with Doc Stone. Our special guest, Jim Grant, co-founder of ArrowStream TV Network, which our show is on. And we hope that you learned a lot. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share today's show so we can hopefully inspire other people to unleash wellness in their life so they can live a more vibrant life. We are very appreciative of you showing up and watching the show today. Goodbye. We'll see you next week. Thank you for watching Wellness Unleashed with Doc Stone on the ArrowStream TV Network. The opinions expressed by the host and guests of this show are theirs and not the opinions of the network or our sponsors. None of the information shared on today's episode should be taken as medical advice. Statements have not been approved by the FDA or any other governmental authority. And if you're experiencing any kind of illness or wellness issue, you are encouraged to consult with your licensed healthcare practitioner. And we do appreciate you watching our show and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.